Scams and scandals have always ruled the world of F1. Every race hides secrets, every win could be a lie. And one young driver, brave enough to follow the truth, uncovered a secret so dark it could shake the entire sport to its core. And one of the darkest stories began in 2008 under the bright lights of Singapore.
Oh, out goes Schumacher!
Das reicht nicht! Es kracht, aber Villeneuve...
Oh, big crash! That's Nelson Piquet.
It was 2008. The Formula One world was in the middle of a title fight. McLaren's Lewis Hamilton against Ferrari's Felipe Massa. Every single race felt like a war for the championship. But further down the grid, at Renault, things were very different. This was the same team that had once been champions of the sport. The same team that had beaten giants like Ferrari and McLaren when Fernando Alonso won back-to-back titles.
Fernando Alonso wins his first Grand Prix.
But now that same Renault was struggling. The wins were gone, the pace was missing, and the pressure was heavy. Fernando Alonso, their star driver, had come back to Renault after his dramatic and messy exit from McLaren. By his side was Nelson Piquet Jr., a rookie driver, son of a legend, desperate to prove that he belonged in Formula One. Inside the Renault garage, frustration was growing bigger every day. Team boss Flavio Briatore and chief engineer Pat Simons knew they were running out of time. Sponsors were pushing hard. The team needed results, and they needed them fast. Then came Singapore, the first ever night race in Formula One history. A stunning show under the lights, but also the place where one of the sport's darkest plans was born. Behind closed doors, an idea was whispered. Alonso would run an aggressive strategy, pitting early. But for that strategy to work, they needed a safety car. And how do you guarantee a safety car? You cause one yourself. The target was turn 17, a tight corner with no cranes or recovery vehicles nearby. If someone crashed there, a safety car was almost certain. The man chosen for the job was Nelson Piquet Jr. Later, he said he was pressured to go along with the plan. For him, it was either obey and show loyalty or risk losing his career. For Renault, it was their big chance to get a win again. September 28, 2008, the Singapore Grand Prix. Alonso started all the way back, 15th on the grid. On lap 12, he pitted very early. Commentators said it was strange, but bold. Nobody knew what was about to happen. 2 laps later, it did. Nelson Piquet Jr. spun and slammed into the wall at turn 17. There was no real effort to save the car. No obvious reason for the crash, just a perfectly timed accident. The safety car came out. Chaos hit the pit lane. Rivals were forced into bad pit stops. And who gained the most? Fernando Alonso. From 15th place, Alonso rushed forward. The plan worked like magic. In one of the biggest surprises, Fernando Alonso won the Singapore Grand Prix. Renault celebrated wildly. To the outside world, it looked like a masterstroke of strategy. But to some people, it already smelled suspicious. For almost a year, the truth stayed hidden. Rumors spread in the paddock, but no one had proof. Then in 2009, everything changed. Nelson Piquet Jr.'s career at Renault fell apart. He was dropped by Briatore, humiliated and desperate. With nowhere else to go, he revealed everything. With help from his father, 3-time world champion Nelson Piquet, he went straight to the FIA. The bombshell dropped. Piquet Jr. confessed that his crash in Singapore was deliberate, ordered by Briatore and Simons. Renault denied it, calling the Piquets liars and blackmailers. But the FIA began a full investigation. Telemetry, team documents, and witness statements were all checked. Piece by piece, the puzzle came together. The evidence was clear. The crash was no accident. It was planned. In September 2009, the World Motorsport Council gave its verdict. Flavio Briatore, Renault's flashy team boss, was banned from Formula One for life. Pat Simons was banned for 5 years. Renault as a team was given a suspended 2-year ban, meaning one more mistake and they would be out. Nelson Piquet Jr. was given immunity for speaking up, but his F1 career was finished. Fernando Alonso was cleared of involvement and kept his win. Years later, Briatore and Simons challenged their bans in French courts and managed to overturn them. but the damage was done. Their reputations were ruined forever. The world called the whole scandal Crashgate. Crashgate stayed as one of Formula One's darkest moments. It showed how much pressure teams faced. It showed how far people were willing to go just to win again. And it ended careers. Nelson Piquet Jr. never raced in F1 again. Briatore never returned as a team boss. Even Fernando Alonso's victory, although safe on paper, was seen by many as tainted. Crashgate became a lesson, a reminder that in Formula One, talent and corruption could run side by side on the same track. Crashgate left Formula One shaken. Fans thought nothing could ever top the shame of Singapore. But just 1 year earlier, an even bigger storm had already started. This time it wasn't about one crash, it was about stolen secrets. The year was 2007. Ferrari, the most famous team in Formula One, were at the top. They had Kimi Räikkönen and Felipe Massa leading the way. Across the garage, McLaren were desperate to beat them. Their lineup was one of the strongest ever. Reigning double world champion Fernando Alonso and a sensational rookie named Lewis Hamilton. Two giants of the sport, two teams in a straight fight for the championship. But behind the scenes, something dark was going on. It started with a man named Nigel Stepney. Stepney was a senior engineer at Ferrari, trusted with the team's secrets. But by early 2007, he was unhappy and frustrated. That's when he began leaking Ferrari information. And who was on the other end? Mike Coughlin, McLaren's chief designer. Stepney handed over a shocking 780-page document. It contained Ferrari's car designs, setups, and technical secrets. This wasn't just notes. This was the full blueprint of Ferrari's car. And now McLaren had it. But how did this come to light? It wasn't the FIA. It wasn't even Ferrari at first. It was a photocopy shop. In June 2007, a shopkeeper in Surrey, England, noticed something strange. A woman came in to copy hundreds of technical papers. That woman was Trudy Coughlin, the wife of McLaren's designer. The papers had Ferrari's name and logo all over them. The shopkeeper, a Ferrari fan, quickly alerted the team. Ferrari launched an investigation. What they found shocked everyone. McLaren's chief designer had Ferrari's secrets. Ferrari filed a formal complaint. The FIA started a huge investigation. Formula One was about to face one of its biggest scandals. In July 2007, the World Motorsport Council met. McLaren were accused of having Ferrari's data. The first decision? McLaren were guilty of possessing the data, but not of using it. Since there was no direct proof it influenced their car, the punishment was only a warning. But Ferrari were furious. And weeks later, new evidence surfaced. Emails between McLaren drivers Alonso and Pedro de la Rosa revealed Ferrari's data had been passed around inside the team. The truth was undeniable now. McLaren hadn't just had the designs, in fact they used them. The FIA called McLaren back. In September 2007, the final verdict was given. McLaren were guilty. The punishment was massive. McLaren lost all constructors' points for 2007. They were fined $100 million, the biggest fine in sports history at the time. The drivers, Alonso and Hamilton, were still allowed to fight for the driver's title, but for McLaren as a team, it was humiliating. The fallout was huge. Nigel Stepney was fired from Ferrari and faced legal trouble in Italy. His career in Formula One was over. Mike Coughlin was suspended and later fired by McLaren. He was banned from F1 for 2 years. McLaren nearly collapsed under the fine. Their image was badly damaged. Inside the team, tensions exploded. Alonso was already fighting with Hamilton, and after Spygate, the relationship broke completely. Alonso left McLaren at the end of the year. Ferrari felt justice had been served, but the bitterness stayed for years. Spygate showed how far teams could go to win, even if it meant cheating on a massive scale. The answers might never be clear, but one thing was certain. Spygate changed Formula One forever. After Spygate, many believed Formula One had seen it all, but the truth was, scandals had always been part of the sport. Even in the 90s, F1 had moments that shook fans to the core, and one of the biggest came in 1997. The season had turned into a chaos between two men. On one side, Michael Schumacher, Ferrari's superstar. On the other hand, Jacques Villeneuve, the Canadian star and son of the legendary driver Gilles Villeneuve. Race after race, they traded wins and points. By the second last round in Japan, Schumacher led Villeneuve by just a single point. It set the stage for a dramatic showdown in the season finale. October 26, 1997, Jerez, Spain, the European Grand Prix. The qualifying race made a moment that seemed unbelievable. Schumacher, Villeneuve, and Heinz-Harald Frentzen all set exactly the same lap time. 1 minute, 21.072 seconds. By the rules, whoever set the time first got the higher position. That meant Schumacher started on pole, Villeneuve second. The championship would be decided right from the front row. The lights went out. Schumacher made a clean start and took the lead into turn 1. Villeneuve was behind him. Lap after lap, Schumacher controlled the pace. Villeneuve kept the pressure but couldn't find a gap. The tension was unbearable. Everyone knew the math. If Villeneuve finished ahead, he was champion. If Schumacher stayed in front, Ferrari would take the crown. Then came lap 48. Villeneuve spotted an opening at the dry sack hairpin. With a bold dive down the inside, he pushed his Williams alongside Schumacher's Ferrari. For a brief moment, it looked like the move had worked. But then, Schumacher turned in. The Ferrari's right front smashed into the Williams. Schumacher's car bounced into the gravel and stopped. His race was over. His championship hopes were finished. Villeneuve's car was damaged, but alive. He kept going, carefully managing the car as rivals closed in. After a tense run to the finish, he crossed the line in third. That was enough. Jacques Villeneuve became the 1997 Formula One world champion. Michael Schumacher was left stranded in the gravel. The controversy exploded instantly. Had Schumacher deliberately tried to crash into Villeneuve? To many, the answer was obvious. The incident looked similar to what Schumacher had done 3 years earlier, in 1994, when he collided with Damon Hill in Adelaide to secure the championship. Fans and experts believed he had tried the same trick again. The FIA launched an investigation. Schumacher was once again under the spotlight. 2 weeks later, the World Motorsport Council announced its verdict. Michael Schumacher was found guilty of deliberately attempting to take out his rival. The punishment was harsh. He was disqualified from the 1997 Drivers' Championship. His name was erased from the standings. Officially, there would be no runner-up that year. It was the first time in Formula One history that a driver had been removed from the championship standings for unsporting behavior. Ferrari, however, kept their constructors' points. Schumacher was also allowed to continue racing the next season. The paddock reacted in mixed ways. Villeneuve said Schumacher had clearly tried to take him out, but celebrated his title as justice served. Ferrari defended their star, calling it a racing incident. The press was brutal. Schumacher's reputation took a huge blow. Many compared it to Senna and Prost's famous clashes, but this time the FIA had acted firmly. Schumacher's aggressive tactics had finally crossed the line. The collision at Jerez went down as one of Formula One's most infamous moments. It was proof of Schumacher's ruthless wins at all costs approach admired by some, opposed by others. In Formula One, scandals aren't rare. They're part of the sport's history. From sabotage to secret deals, from collisions to controversies, the line between fair play and foul play has always been thin. These stories remind us that what happens on the track is only half the truth. The rest stays hidden. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more interesting videos, and I'll see you in the next one.